Good evening, everyone, and welcome once again to another episode of Caribbean Feedback. My name is Curtis Henry, and I am your moderator this evening. I'd like to welcome everyone. Thank you all for joining us. How you all doing today?
Welcome.
Good.
How you all doing? How's everybody enjoying the weather out there, man?
No.
It's cold, boy.
And we in Florida.
Yes.
Wow.
You see this one around my throat? It's no joke. It's cold.
It looks like
chest beer.
It looks like an African garb, something where you just throw the piece over here.
That's it, boy.
Oh, is that blanket vibes going on there? There's a little blanket vibes.
Mm-hmm.
It has that royal flair to it, so you're doing good. Good night, Lucy. Thank you so much for joining us.
Lucy.
Good night, Lucy.
Evening, Lucy.
Lucy. Yeah.
So I would presume that at any moment now our latecomer will be joining us, but
yes,
it's in her truest form and fashion to do such.
Officially the late one. Officially the
Nevertheless,
late for class.
Late for class. We're gonna give us some penance. Some penance this evening.
Homework. Plenty homework.
Needless.
I'm gonna talk to her later. Don't involve yourself.
Okay, the show must go on. So tonight, before Sam makes his announcement, I'd like to start with our esteemed lady on the panel. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. My name is Karin Forrester. I'm with Bantu Creations. Bantu Creations offers beautifully made, African-inspired, lightweight, handcrafted, one-of-a-kind earrings in beautiful shades, colors, shapes, and sizes. Bantu Creations can be found on IG and also on Facebook. Back to you.
Yes, Mr. Mark Chase from Chase Audit Services. Please introduce yourself.
Mark Chase from Chase Audit Services. I got a cat who's running around my thing right here. But we deal with every type of financial issue that you could have.
What type of cat, Mark? Yeah. What type of cat? No.
Easy, sister.
What type of cat, Mark? What type of cat?
What you telling me? Sell the pussy?
Aye! Oh.
Cherry and Sylvester.
Not that kind of shit.
Cherry and Sylvester, thank you so much for joining us. Good night.
Cherry Ann.
Mr. Samuel Archer, talk to the people. Tell us how you're feeling this evening. Tell us who you are, what exactly it is you do.
What I do, I'm yet to find out what it is I do. I'm really yet to find out what it is I do. I do a lot of stuff. I'm a musician, as you can see, some keyboards, mixer board, and all kind of thing in the back there. Tonight I'm trying a different look. Normally you see me in a different part of the house. Tonight I'm in the studio. So we're testing it out to see how that works for us this evening. So I want to go a little digital here. I'm going to try how this is going to look. If you guys see this, you guys seen it?
Mm-hmm.
Looking
I am seeing the logo. True, I am familiar with what it is. I can recognize.
But there's a glare. There's a glare.
Yeah, I had to mess with it a little bit more. But I'm the writer or the new author of the book Hybrid Executive, and it is great for up-and-coming artists. And I also hail from Musilog.com. And again, I want to mention that our sister publication, Musilog Woman, is launched. Please go and subscribe. Go to musilogwoman.com, musilogwoman.net. All the ladies, go over there. Please support Nadira Noorjahan and her Musilog Woman ambassadors. They've been writing some really great articles. So please go over and support them and subscribe and all that good stuff. And oh, by the way, let me bring this person on just before I do this other part, because this part here, she really loves. She loves when I do this part. So tonight's episode.
Oh, fine.
Episode number 20.
That's right.
Judith, good night, Dr. Judith. It seemed like just yesterday we started this and we're 21 already.
Wow.
We're aging fast.
This is a clear testament of what happens when we have children around. You hold their hand and carry them to school today, and in the blink of an eye, you can't hold their hand no more. They're
holding your hand.
Yeah, that's it. They're holding your hand.
They're holding your hand on the blink.
Holding your hand to cross the street. 21 episodes. 21 episodes flew by just like that, just quickly. So what we have to do, we have to keep the thing going.
We got to do another 21 episodes.
And keep going.
That's right.
Because
Karin feeling it, man. Karin feeling it over there, man. That's right.
The folks that tune in religiously, we have to keep it up. We have people that are depending on us. And I am getting some very good feedback from Caribbean Feedback. Very vital information that is being shared on the program. I know sometimes we laugh, we smile, we joke. We tend to mix it up. But we do impart some vital information like the topic we have for tonight. Dr. Judith, please introduce yourself.
Hello to everyone. How are you all tonight?
Lovely. We're doing very well.
I feel absolutely lovely. That's why I sound lovely.
Oh, you feel lovely. Oh, okay.
I am Judith Barnes. I'm an author. I'm a mental health therapist. I am an artist, not a con artist, at least not tonight.
That's right.
I am the mother of one son, and I am, my greatest thing I always say is my relationship with the Lord. And I have to tell you, just to add, things are going extremely well for my calendars that I have. I'm doing 2021 calendars. And each month has a painting, an original painting by myself. And so people are ordering them. And I just ordered 1,500 of my greeting cards. And just a little extra stuff here. I didn't want to get the greeting cards because it costs quite a bit to get that many. Although the more you buy, it's the less expensive it is. But my spirit said, trust, just trust. And I paid the money, and within days, I have received, well, it's on its way to me, a lump sum of money from my closing. That's going to pay for the cards that I ordered. So I am grateful beyond belief, and that's it.
It shows.
So I have paintings on sale, and I have books, but I don't remember them. But anyway, I have paintings on sale, and calendars, and greeting cards.
All right.
God is good.
Shows what happens when you step out on faith.
Yep.
You take the bull by the horn, so to speak, and not wait on anyone for approval. Once again, my name is Curtis Henry. I am the producer and host of Caribbean Chat. Caribbean Chat is a platform where we showcase the history and excellence of Caribbean people who have excelled on the world stage in entertainment, arts, politics, sports, economics. The arts, I was corrected, I should say, politics, sports, and economics. Caribbean Chat can be seen on YouTube. That's Chat with 2 T's. Look us up on YouTube. We are also on Facebook and on Instagram. I urge you to follow us on Instagram, like us on Facebook, go on YouTube, smash that subscribe button for Caribbean Feedback and for Caribbean Chat. Need your encouragement. Whatever you see, you like about the program, leave us a note. Leave us a note. Let us know your thoughts.
When you say smash, right? Right.
When I say smash, hit it recklessly, man. Just hit that button. Tell your friends, hit the button, hit the button. It won't hurt it. It won't
These
hurt it.
things are very expensive. When you say smash, brethren, you know, you got to do a disclaimer and let people know if you mash up your thing that Caribbean Feedback is not responsible
It's
for
not.
your
Yeah, it's for what you mash up.
Well, okay. That nice word you use there. You will hear me use that word several times within the next 2 minutes or so.
smash.
Responsible.
Oh,
Responsibility.
Okay.
Now, I don't know who told some of you all that this thing called life was going to be easy. I'm talking to you, yeah, you the panel and you the listeners, you the viewers. I don't know who told you all this thing called life was going to be easy.
Mercy.
I'd like for you to imagine for a minute someone who hasn't defecated for 10 years.
What?
A bit extreme?
Yeah, that rough.
How about a sink where the dishes haven't been washed in like 6 weeks? This is exactly how a lot of people are walking around with unresolved issues. Bumps and bruises from past relationships that has never been healed. And like that sink of unwashed dishes and rotten food, they stink. Their attitude stinks. Their thinking stinks. And more often than not, their life stinks. And they're just mad at the world. They always claim to be the victim in every encounter. Have you ever met someone who never accepts responsibility for anything that happens to them? Someone who is always, somehow it's always the other person's fault. He or she doesn't like me. My supervisor is out to get me. These people in the state of New York, they can't drive. It's because of the weather. Everybody born under the sign of Leo is a cheater. West Indian men are all cheaters, liars. Jamaican women are such and such. And the list goes on and on. This type of behavior is commonplace among children who have not yet learned the importance of taking responsibility for their actions. This type of behavior is expected from a child who has yet to experience the freedom that is gained when one accepts the responsibility for the outcome of situations that they were directly involved in. This type of behavior is still exhibited in adults who have not yet learned the difference between responsibility and blame. Over the course of my own life, I had to admit I've been guilty of self-sabotage. I've blamed my mother, my father, my grandmother, my teacher, my girlfriend, my ex-wives. And the only thing that did for me was provide me with a different vessel every time that I could deposit my unresolved issues. It was only when I started taking responsibility for everything that happened in my life that I freed myself of this blame game. Make no mistake about it, everybody that I've pointed a finger at thus far, they played their part in inflicting some portion of pain in my life, but it was only in my self-awareness, by pointing that accusing finger internally, that I was able to begin the healing process. I often hear people say that hurt people hurt people. But isn't it also true that hurt people are also capable of continually hurting themselves, Dr. Judith?
Very much so. That's part of the self-sabotage too, is you continue to hurt yourself because you don't feel worthy. You really don't feel worthy of being loved or being cared for, so you cause yourself to hurt. But the thing is that one of the reasons why people self-sabotage is because they get attention, even if it's negative attention. So when you self-sabotage and you start whining and complaining, whatever, some people will give you some amount of sympathy. And I suggest that you don't want sympathy, you want empathy. So, but the self-sabotage, we continually do it because sometimes we don't feel deserving of being successful. And something along the way in our childhood or whatever told us we're not worthy, we're not worthwhile. So even though we seek after success and seek it diligently and passionately, a lot of times it doesn't come to us because we don't feel worthy. And so we will self-sabotage. We will do things. I mean, you can get this close to a dream, this close to it. And just as it gets really close, you find some way. And that could be in a relationship. It could be in our artistic endeavor, whatever. You get this close and you can, as they say, you can taste it. But that old memory pops up, and it's on the subconscious level, not necessarily the conscious level. Subconsciously, you hear, you don't deserve this. You're not good enough for this. But on the outside, you're saying, yeah, I'm the man, I'm the woman, I deserve all this good stuff. But that internal voice, the negative, will tell you that you're not worthy. So you back up. And let me just say this quickly. One of the worst parts of this is when you keep doing it over and over again, you get so worn out. You get so tired. And the energy that you should be using to create success and attain it and live with it is used to self-sabotage.
You use two important words. You use sympathy and empathy. Mm-hmm. Could you define both of them so that people can get a better understanding?
The way I look at it is sympathy is, just practical terms, sympathy is, poor thing, I know you tried. I know you really wanted to do that. Come here, come, let me talk to you. Or let me give you something. And so it's more of a pity. It's more of, I know you're not good. I know you're not worth it. So, but I understand. So empathy is, as most people know, is putting yourself in the other person's shoe. And empathy to me says, listen, I've been through some of that stuff. I kind of know how you feel. Let me see if we can talk and I can give you some ideas to get out of this rut that you're in. Like I use those ideas. I've seen other people use them. And I'll give you for instance, I worked in the prison system in Florida, and one inmate came in, and every time he came, Miss Barnes, if I hadn't messed up, I wouldn't have this 12-year sentence, and on and on. And finally, one day, I couldn't take it anymore. I slammed my hand down on the desk, and I said, shut up. Not very therapeutic, in the eyes of some people, but I said, you need to stop it. I said, you have done this for months. When are you going to accept you blew it, you messed up, but from here on in, let me see what I can do differently so I don't repeat. Now, I'm guilty of that too, but I can tell you this, less and less. So he looked at me like, I guess he was stunned because I hit the desk pretty hard. As a white guy, so that made it worse. So anyway, I said to him, you've got to stop this, because what you're doing is you're disabling yourself continually. Admit it, you screwed up, you made a mistake. That's why, because he blew his probation. That's why you're back in prison. Is it hard? Is it easy? No, it's not easy. It's hard. It's difficult. And that's one of the things about not just being a therapist, but anybody can do it if you care for people, is an empathetic said, listen, I don't know how it feels for them to slam that door at nights and I can't move, not even 6 feet. I got somebody else in this place with me. I'm sleeping on a bunk, somebody could pee on my head. It's not easy. But so once you start telling people, listen, I don't understand this. I understand some of it, but I don't understand the whole thing. So what you're feeling must be hard, because I leave when 5 o'clock comes. I go out that gate and you got to stay in here. So it must hurt that you messed up and had messed up your probation. And he left because where I worked was a reception center. He left for his permanent camp, and I got a letter not long after that. And he said, thank you, because you forced me to look at myself. So that's it. Is that clear enough what I said?
Thank you for slamming your hand on the table.
I'm sorry.
He said, thank you for slamming your hands on the table.
Yeah. He said, thank you, because he was able to look at what was shared with him and recognize, like I'd asked him to do. Because one of the things I said to him, I said, and this is what sympathy does in my line of work, in my own life. Sympathy, and I told him that story, and it wasn't something I thought about before. In the moment I said to him, you're in a hole. I said, I've extended you a rope, and you continually try to pull me down in there with you. I said, if I come in that hole with you, I can't help you. I said, you can't help me, I can't help you. Somebody's going to come by and throw dirt on us. They won't hear us screaming. and we'll be in this hole. You still will be in prison. Now I'll be in prison. I'll be in prison with you in the hole.
In the sunken place.
Say it again.
In the sunken place.
In the sunken place. I like that.
Yes.
So then I said to him, I said, now what I'm going to do for you, I'm going to continue to stand up here above the hole. And I'm going to plant my feet firmly on the ground. And I showed him, I said, I'm going to plant my feet firmly on the ground. I'm going to extend that rope to you. But let me tell you something. The moment you try to jerk and pull me in there, I'm going to let it go. That's just reality. And that's exactly how I live. I live exactly like that. So he wrote me and said that the analogy and all that stuff worked. He recognized that he's ultimately responsible for his decisions. And I don't think it didn't solve every problem for him. He's still in prison. But even if a lot of us are in physical prisons as well as mental prisons. He was in both. So that's it.
Wow. Karin, talk to me about family.
Talk to you about family.
The blaming with parents. I mentioned it earlier on, but talk to me about that.
I think I spent.
Sorry.
Wait, who?
Your name Karin?
Boy, because you got a hat on, you look nice, you're sharp. Mind yourself.
Pressure.
I spent years.
You calling for help?
I spent years blaming my mom for quite a few things, and it wasn't until I got into my 30s that I sort of took stock of things. One of the first things I blamed her for was bringing me to this lovely country where I was basically all alone with no other family. It was just her and me. I understood why she did it, because she didn't want her daughter growing up, in Jamaica without her after a certain age. But I really was very angry for a very long time with her for bringing me here, because academically I was excelling in Jamaica, really excelling. I was less than a year from going to high school, secondary school, whatever. And I blamed her for a very long time. Another thing that I blamed her for, I shared with Sam earlier, that she never I never knew my father. I never knew what he looked like. Very little about him. Few third-party family members tried to share some information about him, and I didn't want to hear that from them. I thought she was responsible for sharing with me. I never knew him, never saw a picture, never got any details about him from her. And so I was very angry with her for a very long time. Those are the major things with her, that she wouldn't discuss anything with me about him. So I was very, very upset when I got to this country and saw intact family units. That's not something that bothered me when I was in Jamaica, because I had a lot of family around me. When I came here, and I was physically by myself most of the time, and there was, it was just like, okay, so what's going on? Where's the supposed father figure that I'm supposed to have? For the American fiction.
How long did you continue blaming before you were able to release?
I would say about 2 decades.
Wow.
I hate being able to say that, but I would say about 2 decades till I finally came to my senses. Mommy did the best she could. You know what I mean? She did the best she could for me. I have always known that my mom loved me unconditionally. Always known that. So she did the best she could for me with the information she had at the time. I have to believe that completely, and I have believed that. So that was one of the ways to release a lot of that toxic nonsense that I was just kept holding on to.
A lot of people are still walking on with these parental issues. I mentioned this in a previous show. A lot of girls have daddy issues. A lot of men have mommy issues, and a lot of times, and I'll talk. Okay, I'm not gonna bash on the women tonight, but a lot of men walk around and in relationships, as opposed to finding a wife or finding a girl, some of them walk around looking for mothers. Grown men, and they want everything done for them. They want to be served. And they're not in any position in life to be served.
So what I wanted to interject real quick, because this is another dynamic we could look at here. I remember when I had my very, very first accident in Brooklyn, New York, and I had to go to there was a deposition between the drivers, and they were like, okay, the driver who ran into me, this was a driver ran into the rear of the vehicle I was driving. His fault was 90% of the accident, and my fault was 10% of the accident. Are you guys seeing me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, we see
Yeah.
that.
Okay, all right, cool.
Yeah,
Something is up with the reception.
How they figure that out? Go ahead.
All right. Yeah. So I had never seen that before. And I said, look, it's not my fault. This guy, I stopped at a light, and this guy ran into the back of my car. How come I 10%? So the lawyer was like, well, it's 10% because you were in the way. And in a funny way, it was a lesson that in everything that I do, whether it's my fault or not, or there's something that I did in the equation that I'm also responsible.
True.
Whether it was premeditated or it wasn't. And that was it was a wrong the way lesson, but it's a lesson that, I might be working with a group of people, and even if I may not have been the one to throw things off track, there's something I did in the mix that I am also to share that blame. Mm-hmm. And great. I am supposed to learn from that and pick myself up and move forward. So I just wanted to interject that inside there as a nice little nugget as we go.
That's great. That's great. And real.
You use you interjected another word into this conversation here, blame.
Yes.
A lot of people tend to use responsibility and blame interchangeably, when at times they have totally different meanings in a situation. Imagine for a minute, you have a birthday party or something coming up, and you have a cake to pick up from the bakery, and you send your 8-year-old to pick up the cake. The 8-year-old goes, he pick up the cake, and you tell him, make sure you come straight back home. You hear me? Okay. He goes, he picks up the cake. On the way back home, he sees his friends playing some basketball. So he put down the cake and decides to shoot a few hoops. In the process of that game, the ball bounced, smashed the cake. The heat of the sun already melted the icing in. Ants already called it to the box. The 8-year-old comes home, and that's the cake that he has to present to you.
Lord Jesus.
Can you feel the licks?
Who was responsible? And who was to blame? Because it's different. It's different in this situation. First of all, as an adult, it was your responsibility to get the cake. Mm-hmm. You decided to put this responsibility upon a child. Mm. You to blame. Now you can turn around and blame the child. He wasn't supposed to do this and he wasn't supposed to do that. But look at where it started. Mm. You put the responsibility of an adult in a child's hand. Mm. And when they wavered from that, you want to beat the child, like Mr. Chase said, and say the child is to blame because he should have listened to me and he should have come straight back home and he should not have put on the cake and he should not have and he should and he shouldn't and he shouldn't. It was your responsibility to retrieve that cake, not a child. Right. So you to blame, not the child. Mr. Chase.
As I was going to say earlier, before interrupted by Mr. Henry, my mother was a psychiatrist, and she said one thing to me that always resonates. When something happens when you're 6 years old and you recall it, you are forever 6 years old.
Mm.
Mm.
When something happens when you're 20, you will forever be 20. That thing that happened, you will never get past. There is no rationalizing it. There is no, that's when it happened. And that's how you remember it. That's how you recall it. I actually never believed my mother when she said that until my 102-year-old grandfather recalled when his father walked out of the house on him and he cried, and he was 9 years old. I understand that. We talked about sympathy and empathy. It's hard for an adult talking to another adult to be empathetic about something that happened when that adult was 9. It's difficult. It's difficult. But we have to be. We have to be. Unfortunate as it may be, much of the things we're talking about here, blame, we're seeing it through a lens that is where we were at that moment.
But at which point in time does that person go up, though? I've seen grown men, I've seen adults on TV, on talk shows, sobbing and crying, and my father, he left when I was 9. And you said, okay, but you're 42. At which point do you grow up?
You don't. You don't. You don't. Your father left at that time. Period. End of sentence. Full stop.
Okay, may I add something to what you're saying there, Mark? The memory stays, the memory is there, and the memory hurts. But there is a thing called change. But somebody has to decide they're uncomfortable with what's going on. They have to make a decision that 9-year-old has to die in order for the adult to become mature.
And
not
that
easy.
Does occur.
That
does occur.
Oh, okay.
It does occur.
Okay.
The question is when.
When, let me tell you, when the person who's going through the pain, listen, if I have a toothache and it continues, and I know I have a toothache, and I take aspirin, and I take Fensic, and I take whatever, and the pain goes away for a little while, and then it comes back more intensely, I have to decide, do I want to go through that cycle of pain again? Do I want to continue? One of the reasons why people continue to go through stuff is because they get a certain amount of attention, which is actually usually negative attention, but they get attention. So they use it to get that. But the truth is, until the human being, until our psyche gets tired of the pain, until we say we have had enough and we don't want to go through this anymore, it doesn't change.
Where I'm gonna disagree with you. My mother was very big on identifying silent pain, where you're not looking for attention. It's simply how you feel. You don't look for attention. You're not talking about any of these things.
But looking for attention is not always, it's not always at the conscious level.
It's not conscious.
That's what I'm saying. It's not always on the conscious level. It's often in the subconscious, but it's there.
It's there, and you live with it, and you're always, whatever trauma you went through at 6 stays with you, and you move on. You're moving on.
Well, there comes a period of acceptance, and that's when you
Let
can
me add
move on.
something here. But can someone be so hurt and traumatized that they just meander through life, never taking full responsibility for the very outcome of their own life?
Yeah,
Of course.
Absolutely.
Of
Every
course.
day. Every day.
Of course. Of course.
there's a disease, a mental health disease called Munchausen. Have you heard of it?
Yes, I have.
Okay,
Mhm.
and it's where the parent is usually a mother, almost endangers the child's life, so she can get attention, not the child.
Mhm.
You're aware of it, right, Karen?
Yes.
And it's Munchausen by proxy.
By
Mhm.
proxy.
So what happens is that the child, the mother the child might be taking some medication, and the mother decides to stop giving the child the medication because the goal in a healthy mind is for the child to get better. But a healthy mind is not Munchausen by proxy. She wants the condition to continue so she can get attention. So vicariously, she's living through this child until she gets some help, until she's able to face what she's doing. She'll continue to do that. So a lot of what we're talking about so far and in general is human being. See, the truth is we know when we're hurting, but we have built-in systems that we will, the pain is here, we go that way, and we avoid it. Avoidance is one of the biggest problems in America is avoidance and denial. We will know that something is wrong. And we look here, we look there. And the Bible talks about they having a trunk in your eye, and then somebody has a little matter, in Jamaica, it's having a matter in the eye. And what we focus on is the matter in somebody's eye and not the trunk in our own. So we have ways to protect our psyche because we don't want to be wrong, responsibility, we don't want to be hurt. So we'll go after somebody else and pick on them. The person might have the same problems that we're having, but that's how some of us do. We kind of reroute it because we don't want to deal with the problem.
Let me give you an example of what I'm trying to illustrate. I am afraid of heights, but I go up on my roof and I blow the leaves off. I don't want them collect on there. When the reason I'm afraid of heights is that my father sent me up on the roof. I was about 7 years old, and I lost my grip and fell. Hit the fence, hit the concrete. I don't like heights. I will always be that age. Let me tell you what. I got 2 hands and 2 feet, but you would think I was Spider-Man when I'm on that roof. I'm looking. Okay? I'm 62 years old.
But Mark, you should. It's not the height you shouldn't like; it's the fall you shouldn't like.
Yeah,
The roof didn't do anything to you. The roof didn't do a thing
but
to
I
you.
don't even want to be up that high if you fall. So look, I'm even singing in my head, Spider-Man. Right? I'm holding on to every damn kind of thing. Okay. We can use any kind of justification. And most of us are intelligent enough to come to some sort of agreement with ourselves. But we're still 6. We're still 7.
You're kidding me. You really believe that?
Believe it as black as I am, yes.
Okay.
People look at me and they said, why you hate dogs? I don't hate dogs. I hate being bitten by dogs.
Mm-hmm.
My earliest memory of being bitten, I was like 3.
Oh gosh.
There was a dog on the steps to my godmother's house. My godmother's going up the step and she stepped over the dog. My mother is in front of me. She stepped over the dog. Here I'm coming behind and I stepped over the dog. By this time, the dog got tired. And he decided, you know what, I had enough of you all, and he turned around and bite me, how? And there I went, tumbling down the steps. 3 years old. By the time I was 9 or 10, I was bitten an additional 4 times. 3 times. And 1 time in my adult life. So I've been bitten by dogs 5 times. Dogs and I are not friends.
And you don't
I don't hate dogs. I hate what dogs can do to me. I hate the fact that I have to go sit in an emergency room to get a not tetanus, the other shot you get in your behind. Rabies shot in your behind. I hate the fact that I have to go through that while the person is looking at you and saying, sorry. No, it's too late for sorry then. So I understand where Mark is coming from. So when you come around with your dog and telling me, oh, he's just trying to get to know you, and that dog is sniffing my testicles, no, I don't, and we don't need to get that close. If that is what you have to do to get to know me, then we won't know each other.
We won't know each other.
In that exchange with dogs, I am forever 3 years old. So I understand what Mark is talking about. I don't want to hear about your dog. Don't bring your dog next to me. Don't invite me to your yard and the dog is running around and saying and jumping on you and saying he wants to play, he wants to get to know you. No, I'm still 3 years old in that situation. So I understand what you're saying, Mark. But let me shift gears a little bit and talk about those people who blame parents for shifting them in a particular direction in life. Your mother wanted you to be a doctor. So you spend all these years going to medical school, and then now you're miserable because your mother, and you're forever, now you hate your parents as an adult because wasn't my dream. You really want to play the guitar. So now you walk around resentful towards your parents because they forced you into a career for their own benefit. You all have encountered these people?
Yeah. I was supposed to be a medical doctor.
Case in point.
Yeah.
According to whom?
According to my mom. And I was going to be going to Loma Linda University out in the West. Yeah, she had it all planned out. He's going to go here. He'll do 2 years. He's going to go here, get his certification. He's going to go here, and he's going to do his internship, and then he's going to go to medical school over here. And it sounded like a movie, a drama, action, and horror, all in one. And it was rough. It was rough.
What kind of mindset you think you would have been in today in terms of blaming your parents had you gone along that path? Mind you, you may have been well off financially, but how would you have been doing up here?
Not good. I think I did do the blame game for a little while because when I had gotten to a certain age, I really wanted to go to Oakwood University in Alabama. I really wanted to go there, and we had a little tussle. Not physical tussle, of course. You don't want to do your mom that, right? You still have to do the respect thing. But it was something I really wanted to do. That was like a path that I really wanted to take at one point. And, she was just very adamant about, this is where you are going to go. This is the direction. So, it felt like I was what's the word I'm looking for? I was like a misfit now because I'm pursuing something. I'm doing all these classes that I could do the classes. It's not, as a musician, science and maths and things like that, it's like second nature when but that's not really where I wanted to go. So now I'm pursuing something to appease a parent. And they're like, well, the music you're doing is for if you're in a situation and there's a piano in the room, you can just go and play a Tchaikovsky and have a drink and keep it moving. So that was really what they saw. They didn't really think that, okay, I'll do music and then gravitate to it and make it something as what I'm doing now. It was just about, well, yeah, let's expose them to music, because music is one of the things a doctor should be able to do, And so, you could actually see the vision as to what they were looking for, where they could actually live vicariously, through the child, where you're your own person, you have your own ideas, you have your own personality, your own dreams, the things that you want to do. So now you're in this battle. So yeah, so I did play the blame game for a minute, and then at some point I had to put the brakes on that and say, all right, look,
put your foot down and say, I ain't going.
Yeah. Well, you had to say it in a smart way. You had to say it smart. You can't say it too plain, right? And but at some point, it's either you're gonna get stuck, you're either gonna bend and just go where you're being pushed, or you stand and fight for what it is you see.
Yeah. That's I think.
What? Go ahead.
That's the most difficult part in the blame game. Do you want to be responsible for what you have done? Who are you? We don't figure that out. Some people never figure that out. They're 75 years old and don't know who in the hell they are. They don't know who in the hell they are. They got the trauma when they're 6. And they're looking and they have a narrative. That's what my mother used to say. Everyone has a narrative. Well, I shoot him 9 times because he said this and that, and the next thing, they have a narrative. And they continue with their narrative.
Someone once said you can live your dreams or you can live your excuses. The narrative is real. The excuses are real. The victimization is real. The pain that your parents caused, it's real. It's real. Yeah. I cannot take that away from anyone playing the blame game. But at some point in time, you have to draw the line. And like Sam said, jostle a little bit, put your foot down. I notice when they say jostle, the 2 women perked up like, what, jostle who? Because they are not going to be jostled by anybody. Man, furthermore, child. But where you have to jostle and put your foot down, even as a child, and say, no more. This is my calling. This is the direction I have to go. Because you will live a life of bitterness and forever be blaming people for the outcome of your life if you don't make those choices.
But you're going to continue with your narrative. And where do you put your foot down? Where do you put your foot down? Oh, I got fired from this job for this reason. And, this white lady didn't like me. And, and you keep going. And the narrative keeps it creates its own path. It creates its own path. I just recently, I had a birthday and I realized I ain't never had no damn narrative. I just blow me up. I'm so damn tired. I just want to blow stuff up.
Video games, man. Get some video games.
Could somebody talk to me about pessimism? Could somebody with a pessimistic outlook at life keep blaming other people for their mistakes?
I'm not blaming anybody. I just think as my aunt Clodora would say, bury me upside down so you can kiss my batty.
I don't. Well,
That's hard.
you're gone off it.
I don't know where that one
Um,
come from. I
I
don't know where
don't
that one
either.
come from.
All that,
But talk to
that
me. Talk to me
But
about
let me
pessimism.
oh, Karen, go ahead, Karen.
no,
Yeah.
go ahead, Sam. I'm fine. I'm fine. No,
Um,
I wasn't going to.
there's some people when they have an experience, and they can't really grow from it or get out of it, and they're sort of locked into that area, and they're like, yeah, if this didn't happen, and if that didn't happen, and that da, and you might come to this person and you will say, look, I understand what happened to you. I understand what you're saying. If you could do this right here, it could change things. And then now they go and, but what if this happened? And what if that happened? So they're not even willing to look at a positive outlook. They're willing to look at that negative thing. Well, this is the thing that could go wrong. And then I'm like, well, it could go right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you had to take the chance.
Preach, brother Sam.
It keeps them trapped.
It could go wrong. And I'm like, look, you could always bounce back. And they can't see it. They cannot see it at all. And
But
some folks, they might have to give Dr. Judith a call.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yes.
but
Preach,
but
brother.
there's
Dr. Judith
there's a
slap she hand on the
difference.
table and say, oi.
Damn it! Stop it! No, stop it.
You know
There's
what
a
you
difference.
said right there, brother. It's not if then. It's then.
Mm.
Not if then. It's
There's
not
a
if.
difference. There's a difference between being a pessimist, which is probably just the core part of who you are, and not wanting to be held accountable or take responsibility for your role in a particular situation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a huge difference between being a pessimist and that. I know that no one has really brought it up yet, but I wanted to touch on my little blame game in another part of another phase of my life was post-divorce. Now, I know that I did my personal best, but I found myself saying, if we had just done this differently, if he had tried a little to do this, if he had tried a little harder, we had issues where we couldn't agree on preset written short-term and long-term goals. We just couldn't get it together. And I felt myself blaming because when I got married, I thought it was for life. You understand? I wasn't one of those looking for the quick way out, you know what I'm saying? But I found myself doing a lot of blaming, and it took me like 2-3 years post-divorce to like, no. Let's remember the love. Let's try to get back to where we were as friends, and we worked that out. We talked it out, and we were able to reestablish a friendship, because we had a long-standing friendship prior, But for a couple of years there, I would say like 2.5, somewhere there, I was just blaming and blaming away, But it took two of us, you know what I'm saying? It took the two of us.
Okay, so you're saying that
go
it was
wrong.
more of a cooperation between both of you to help bring you out of it, in a sense?
Right. I think we helped each other to be able to finally speak as friends again. You know what I mean? And stop all this little blame nonsense. And let's try to remember the love and remember what brought us together and why we became friends and took it further. But I find that a lot of people just hold on.
Sorry, what I ended up doing was I I always keep remembering a pastor that when I was growing up, actually he was in a controversial situation recently, from Trinidad, Pastor Dutton. He came to visit my church one time in Mount Pleasant, and he was giving us an example of a situation, and he used planning a program, and why you should plan a program. But let me show you how it ties in here. He went and he said, you had this and that and the other, and then the program, the event has happened, and now after the event happened, you're sitting down in a room in the back, and now you're saying, I should have put this person first, and I should have do this over here, and we should have put the offering here, and the special music should have been here. So now you're planning the program after the program done. And it was one of the things that it was sort of like a barrier that, or should I say a gauge that I was using. So from a post-divorce thing for me, I was like, okay, I'm going to learn from this. And if I see anything like this in the future, then
control it.
I'll apply it here. Opposed to, well, if this did happen, and if it gone.
You ever find yourself arguing with somebody long after they're gone because you still want to win the argument? So the person done out of your range, gone, and you're still holding the argument, but you're not listening. You didn't listen to what I tell you.
Listen, Linda. Listen. You are not listening.
Yeah. That's a kind of mental thing, If you ever driving down the street and you see a mad person standing by the bus stop talking to themselves, you alone in the car, you look down and you see a person talking to themselves by the bus stop, you say they're mad. What do you say? What do you say to yourself? Who you talking to?
Yourself.
But somebody looking at you and thinking you're mad the same way.
You can't drive me crazy because I already drove there long ago.
So this is what we tend to judge. We tend to judge a lot of people not understanding sometimes the pain that they're coming from, why it is they on this situation where they're still holding that argument. They're still trying to settle an argument. They're still trying to win an argument. They're still blaming the other person. They walk in the street talking to themselves. And this is what I'm saying. So we look at them, we judge them, and we make a comment while we're there by ourselves, not realizing you're doing the same thing that they're doing. So somebody looking at you and say, well, wait, who are you talking to?
I'm going to
understanding as to why.
I'm cloning my mother right now. And God bless her, she's been gone some years now. There are some things that are not curable. If you're an alcoholic, she would say you're going to get the yips. You're going to wake up in the morning, your hands are going to shake. You can talk to whoever. You can go to a meeting, but you're still an alcoholic. If you're damaged by something physically, hitting the knee, you're not going to forget it. Your knee is damaged. And what she used to say is the aim of psychology, the aim of understanding is true understanding. You are hurt. You are damaged. And it's done. That's done.
But can someone please?
What are you going to do? What are you going to do with the damage? What are you going to do with it? Okay. I can remember her saying that. Yeah, all these things happen. They're for real. What are you going to do with them?
Some people walk around with it for life. Some people walk around, they carry it like a
you don't walk around with it.
They carry it like a baggage. They take it from
It's your
relationship.
You own it.
From relationship to relationship. And that's why I said in the beginning, hurt people. And we have to find some way, some medium. Can someone talk a bit about the importance of writing, thus purging oneself of hurtful things that have been done to them? As for me, many years ago, a friend of mine suggested that I write a letter to my father telling him exactly how I felt. She claimed that it would help me reconcile everything that was not okay on the inside. At that time, I thought it was kind of stupid, but I did it anyway. I like to do a little excerpt from that piece I wrote called Conversation with My Father. I wrote it in poetic form. I said, "You blew it, man. You could have had a son to play in the park, shoot some hoops and run. Oh yeah, man, those earlier years could have been real fun. But you chose the single life, never found time to choose a wife. If only you knew how much I wanted you. If only you knew how much I cared. There were times I sat and cried for you. You see, the thought of you not returning is what I most feared. Many nights I sat by the window hoping and praying to see your face. But I realized the time was much too precious to waste. So I choked back the tears and started counting the years, and I knew that one day I would encounter one of my greatest fears. I found out that you were dead and gone, without realizing that some of your grandchildren were even born. Jamal, Salim, Onisha, and Imani Henry. I gave them all my name, so the world will know whose children they are." The poem is much longer than that. And to give myself a shameless plug, it will be in my upcoming anthology of poems entitled The Voices of My Soul.
Looking forward.
Please, anyone, tell me. We have writers in this group. Tell me about the importance of writing and purging yourself, getting those thoughts out.
Purging for me, and I'll be brief on it. The purging, I did a lot of it in reference to my first marriage, and
was there a second one? Third?
No.
Okay,
but it's still first, right?
Excuse me, Mr. Henry. I'm the next ex-husband.
Oh, okay.
We talk about that later.
Let's continue.
Yeah, and I dove into writing and actually vented in the writing, did poetry in the writing, all types of stuff where I just channel the energy there. Funny enough, there was some of the things I revisited after, and I couldn't read it. As I saw the first line, I had to shut it down.
Yeah.
And I think what that was, it was that whatever I purged myself of, it was out. It was like a spiritual thing. It was like, okay, this thing is out of you. And actually reading it was not healthy again.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to explain it. Maybe that's a job for someone else on the panel, but I tried that, put my energy into that, and it was a way of purging.
Mm-hmm.
Some people recommend that you burn it when you're done. You write it, you get it out, and then you burn it, or you tear it up and let the pieces go in the wind.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know that that's I wrote a piece called Os Desesperados, which means we who have disappeared. And it's talking about my children. That when I'm gone, Did any black people exist in your life? I'm your father. You stand on my shoulders and my father's shoulders and my grandfather's shoulders. He was the first man to have a captain's license to sail a boat in this country. Os Desesperados. I read it, I get angry. It's cathartic.
It is.
What will happen when I'm gone?
Sam, I love to reread my pieces that I've written over the years because I always learn something from it. Whether learning how to channel things a little bit differently, let's put it that way. Sometimes just trying to remember a frame of time of what was I going through during that time. It takes me right back. But I don't look at my poetry as, I don't look at it resentfully. When I put together the notes for this show, I just took pen up and just wrote something, which I'm hoping I will have time that I could say it at the end. It's very brief, but it just brought out all these feelings, and it is a beautiful purging situation. Writing has always served that purpose for me. You know, all those toxic feelings, get them out. Let them just stay on that ink and paper. Revisit as needed, put them away. They're good. It's a beautiful thing. It's the most artistic form of art it's the most artistic thing I've ever done and continue to do.
Gentlemen, ladies, I want to begin with you on this, Judith. How do we begin on a path to self-discovery? This way, we're not just pointing the finger at other people and saying, you did this to me, you said that to me, you. And as I stated, internally, self-awareness. How do we begin on that path to self-discovery?
Okay, guys, I'm gonna answer this, and not to be rude, but I'm falling asleep because we all have a schedule, right? And mine was very thick today, so I'm gonna answer this, and then I'm gonna go to sleep because I gotta get up at 5. But let me share this, and I'll use myself. I went through many years as a youngster back home with my family. Different negative things happened. Good stuff happened also. But after many years, I realized that, and I probably started realizing that was when you knew me, Curtis, I wasn't on self-discovery. I just gotten divorced and moved back to New York, and I was discovering a lot of stuff about myself as an individual. But when I got to the place where I was uneasy with me, because I think that everything that happens to us starts with us in terms of discovery and getting something fixed. I was uneasy with me. I had to find out why I was uneasy with me. And I started verbalizing more of what my family, how they treated me, how they responded to me. And I found out that some of it is cultural. Men in Jamaica, I don't know about anybody else, but men in Jamaica, they have issues with women, such as myself, who has an idea who she is and speaks up and stands up and is not afraid and not intimidated by men. So they kind of used that on me for many years, and they kind of ostracized me. My sisters, who were more compliant and who didn't ask anything and didn't say anything, they kind of treated them differently, that's fine. But in order for me, I went to see a therapist once, and she gave me a packet, and it's called Removing Strongholds. In order to remove something, you have to know it's there. And that's what I said earlier, is that there was stuff holding me back. I was afraid of succeeding. I was afraid of a lot of things. And I didn't know where it came from. I found out over time that it came from my family of origin. That's where it started. But then, as I got older, I wanted this thing gone because it was an irritant. It was annoying. It was holding me back from my destiny because I knew I wasn't where I was supposed to be. One of the things that I think stops us from changing is first saying something is wrong with me. Something's going on with me. It's always easy to say it's the other person. Now, real things happened to me in my family that were kind of victim stuff. But I recognize, even I look back now, I was never a victim. Because it got to the place where it's almost like they said, it's like, shouldn't have dead yet? Every time I think she's dead, she come back again. So I've never been a victim, but I've been victimized to some degree. But then what I've found out over the years is that I participated in it. I even encouraged some of the behavior because I wanted their love more than I wanted anything else. And if to get that love meant that I would take on some of this victim, this victim stuff and this abuse, then I took it. Was it conscious? No, it was not unconscious. It was subconscious. It is my relationship that began probably in the late 80s with God that changed me and made me see that I was not what I was supposed to be, that I was accepting far less than I'm entitled to and that I should have. And of course, it changed the dynamics of my relationship with my family because usually what I would do is I'd make jokes and I'd do a lot of stuff just to entertain them. I mean, it got to the point where some of my siblings would say, at least one of them would say, come on and give me some jokes. So I was a joker. I took that position because I got attention and it meant they cared for me or whatever. So what I'm saying in a nutshell is we've got to be willing to do a lot of self-unearthing. We've got to be willing to say, when something's going on with me, I don't naturally say, it's tired, it's my son. One of the things that I'm very grateful for is that I always want to know what did I contribute to this stuff. Because we contribute, whether we like it or not. And once you admit that you contribute to the negativity, you can start, and this is the powerful thing. T.D. Jakes says he has the power, he has a gift of goodbye. We have to be willing to say goodbye to some people so we can be healthy. A lot of us don't want to do that because even though what people are doing with us is painful, we're used to it. I always said to my family, I am the one in the family who walks into a room, the carpet is white, the walls are blue, and there's big old white elephant pooping all over the floor. And I'll say to them, hey guys, I want to help you clean up. And they're like, why don't you shut up? We're used to the poop. We're used to the elephant in the room. Just leave it alone. So what I learned to do, instead of asking them to help clean up the poop, I decided to clean up my own poop. And I pray that they'll clean theirs up. But there has to be that accountability self, the responsibility, and say, no matter what they have done, I could have stopped it at any moment. But I wanted something from them. Why I allowed it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Everything you say makes sense, Judith. Don't worry yourself. The only thing, you dismiss yourself before I get a chance to dismiss you.
Oh,
so I just want you to know. I want you to know. Stop it.
Oh my goodness.
Thank you for coming by.
I don't mind myself.
Thank you for coming by.
What's wrong with this gentleman? What's wrong with this man here?
Hold on with the man. That's how you bang your hand on the desk for that guy.
No, this one here. What's wrong with him?
Oh, with him,
don't answer. It's gonna take too long.
Look like a poor one. Look at
how was the birthday party?
I had no birthday party. I watched a fight. I had some wings. I don't feel well. It's cold here.
What happened to the curry goat? What happened to the curry goat? You're supposed to fix curry goat.
Man, I couldn't even. I sat, I watched the fight, and I've been wrapped up ever since.
All right, we're going to discuss that, Mark, in the after show, but let us continue wrapping up the show.
Good night, guys. God bless you.
Bless.
Thank you for
Bless
stopping
us.
by. All right, blessings.
All right, stars. Walk good.
See you next week.
Go work
All
good.
right.
Walk good and me only good duppy follow you.
I go mash the button when I get off.
Smash.
Bye.
All right, good night, good night, good night. So tell us,
Good night.
Mark, how do we begin on a path to self-discovery?
I think it's a long path. It's a long path. You know, when you talk about you blame this one, you blame that one, that's our narrative. That's what we do. That's what we do. I couldn't even begin. My mother was a clinical psychologist. She couldn't tell you how not to come up with a narrative. All right. Our narrative, and please, for the listeners, excuse me, is our own bullshit. Straight, no chaser. That's what we do. It's how we excuse ourselves
Mercy.
for what we do. That's our narrative. You blame your mother, you blame your father, you blame the person down the street. Oh, I was 8 years old. He slapped me, and that's why I don't like men. No, that belongs to you.
Mm.
How do you drop your baggage? You know, only God knows. Only God knows. But at some point, you have to.
Yes, indeed.
I can tell you for me, I got old. I got old. I just got old. Man, you know I did that. I did that. And the next thing, and the next thing, and all of these picnics. I can't blame nobody. You know, I just got old. So
own your narrative, and clean up your own poop.
right?
Karin, talk to me.
I
Talk
can't.
to me, Karin. Let's hear what you got to say as you take us out.
I don't know about this long time that everybody's talking about. Once I became an adult and I began to look at my parent, as a frail, flawed human being, and realized the amount of responsibility that she had, for me, and she did her best. I was able to let a lot of stuff go. Really, it was not very difficult once I got to that realization, but getting there took a little while, but I got there. And I can honestly say now I don't hold on to a lot of anger, you know. And when I realize that have a little malice towards a situation, no, gotta let it go. Gotta let it go. Very easy for me now, and it has been for a couple of decades now. Um, I wanted to read something, and I'm wondering if this is a good
Go ahead,
time.
go ahead. Yes, go ahead, go ahead.
Okay. When I finished writing my notes for this show, I wrote a poem. Well, it's not really a big poem, but it goes something to the effect of, it would be nice to say I arrived to this point without pain. The mold at my birth has shaped me to this day. I have never taken for granted those who have shown me love. I do not feel entitled to anything for which I have not shored. My gratitude is endless for time I have been bestowed. As the end draws near, I have few regrets, fewer still as the days beset. That's all she wrote.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Musilog Archer, talk to me.
So before I wrap up, let me acknowledge the folks on the chat. So we have Lucy O'Brien, we have Sherian Sylvester, we had Tashima, and then the rest was Sherian. And she says, natural poet. I guess that's when you were doing the letter to your father, Curtis.
Yeah,
Writing
conversation.
is cathartical. That was, I think that's probably when I was talking about when I was diving into a lot of my writing. This was a really good conversation. One of the things, oh, by the way, Karin, you just wrote this poem tonight? Like today sometime?
Yeah, today. Yeah. It's
Okay,
just
so
a passion. It's
after
just a passion.
Voices of My Soul is released. No, what's the name of the book, Curtis? Voices of what?
You're correct. Voices of My Soul.
So we're gonna get Voices of Her Soul. Anyway,
I'm sorry. I'm Guyanese. It's not Voices of Her Soul.
She.
It's Voices of She Soul.
She Soul.
Not a hell. Not a hell. No.
So let me get back to the wrapping up point here, so that we can do our after show. We need to start recording the after show, by the way. Anyway, one of the things that came to mind when I saw the topic, growing up in the 70s home, one of the things we had was a lot of teenage pregnancies. And so, of course, I'm younger. I'm like 6, 7 years, 8 years looking at teenagers. And unfortunately, around that time, it was a taboo. It was a very, very bad taboo. So there was a lot of blame going around. Then, especially if you went to church, you got this fellowship, you had to be baptized again. And it was really a whole complicated thing if you got pregnant. The girls got it really, really bad. The guys got it bad too, but the girls got it really bad. And this title brought that back to me for some strange reason. And you saw those who bounced back from it, who, they went through the whole process and actually moved forward with their lives. You saw those that got stuck and couldn't move forward. They would, and a lot of it had to do with how they were treated, how society treated them, how
family,
how the opportunities, there were opportunities that you were barred from certain things. Of course you had to leave school. Those days school didn't really consider. Now I think not too long after that, they worked it out where the girls could come to school and at least finish high school or finish their program. Back then, it was like a strike. Like, that one strike really erased you. And to see them overcome that and become contributors to society in a major way is what I saw when we spoke about the title of the show. One of the things I also want to mention is the action of letting go. It's sort of like if you have a jar and there's candy or cookies or whatever in there, your hand has to be empty to get something in that jar. You can't have something that you're holding to put your hand in the jar to try to get something else. And that's what a lot of folks might be doing, is holding on to something when life is giving you new opportunities and new possibilities. Let go of what is holding you back, and grab those new things that life is willing to offer. Because life will push us around, but life is also giving us the answers or other options that you can work with based on what how life pushed you. And then learning to understand, sometimes you're 5% of the blame. Sometimes you're 10%.
Sometimes you're 95. Sometimes you're 95.
Sometimes 95%. What are you going to do? Are you going to just, and my last example is another pastoral thing where they will say, on your walk in life, and this would be like your Christian walk, and you slip and you fall, you fall in the mud. And you have two things you can do. You can get up, dust yourself off, keep it moving, and then you have those that will just stay in the mud and roll in the mud and roll in the mud and roll in the mud and don't get up at all. And then you have to choose which one you want to do. So that's my 2 pointers for this.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Generally, I try to have some words of wisdom at the end of all of this, but tonight, if I could leave you with just one valuable lesson, I urge you to do like I did. Accept responsibility. Do like I do. Accept responsibility for everything that happens in your life. Everything. Even for the behavior of your obnoxious neighbor. Yeah, some people would ask, how am I responsible for their behavior? You're not. But if you hadn't bought that house or didn't rent that apartment, you may have never encountered that person. So yeah, you're responsible.
That's the 5%.
That's the 5% part that you played. Take responsibility for whatever part you played in that scenario. Not for you, not for them, not for them, but for your own peace of mind. You have to empty. Like you said just now, you have to empty your hand in order to receive whatever is in that jar. You have to defecate. You can't keep that 10 years built up inside of you. It can get you sick. It can eventually kill you. You have to wash those dishes out of the sink to get rid of that stinking smell, to get rid of that stinking attitude, to get rid of that stinking thinking. Change the narrative. Stop walking around playing, being a victim. It's about time you become a victor and not a victim. Not for anyone else, but for your own peace of mind. Stop the blame game. Thank you all so much for joining us. Peace.
Bless.